So finally, I wanted to talk about Instagram. I mean, it's really probably the most popular social media photography-based app, and I know that they've gone into video a little bit, but photos really, let's be honest, it's the big thing on Instagram. And I think there's a few things that make certain Instagram accounts more interesting than others. One of them is, the images you post, obviously. So what is within your image, and really, why do I want to look at it? I think adding great depth, great detail, having, it's really ultimately having a dynamic photo because it's a square image. It's going to be viewed on a smartphone. It's not going to be blown up or really big necessarily. And so it's how interesting of a photo can you take? In terms of composition, I think really having a focus is always helpful. But also having, the description down below adds a lot. Currently I'm looking at a photo from NASA. It's a picture of a moon. We've all seen the moon before. But then you go beneath it, and it gives a whole little description of, this is actually one of Saturn's moons, and it is this far away. And I've, just by sitting here and reading it, I've learned something about why this photo is interesting. I think a lot of people take photos, and it's sort of like, look where I am, and it doesn't say that much though. And I think that by informing people as to why is this an interesting photo, and a little backstory adds a lot. Another, great success story of Instagram, I think, is Humans of New York. They take really beautiful portraits of people. They're not necessarily extremely dynamic photos, but they're very honest photos of people. And, the photos are taken on DSLR. I don't think all of them are taken on an iPhone. But what they do is they share these people's stories, and they interview the people, and they really, you learn a lot about people that live on the streets of New York, or that just live in New York, and they all have such interesting stories. And it's a great thing that as you're scrolling through Instagram, it makes you sort of pause and look at the image, read the description, and then go back and look at the image for a second time. And I think it's something really unique on the Instagram platform. Another big thing that people utilize are hashtags, and a lot of times it'll be sunset, hashtag sunset. It's a little too easy that way. It's really about knowing trends out there, knowing what's going on. Is there an ad campaign? Is there some big social media campaign? And you want to be a part of it, and you're paying attention to that whole world so that when you go take a photo of whatever it might be, let's say the drought in California, maybe you go on a hike and you see something that really shows that, and you go and take a photo, you share it with that account by hashtagging it, and then someone goes and shares your photo and thousands more people see it. I randomly took a photo at LAX, and all of a sudden LAX's photo account shared my photo, and it got a lot more followers, it got a lot more likes. And people do that all the time with different hashtags or social media campaigns. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is the square image, and thinking of how you take this photo, and ultimately, how are people going to view it? Most of the time, if you're sharing something on Instagram, they're going to look at it on their iPhone. Granted, you can share this to Twitter or Facebook where someone might see it on the computer, but most of the time it'll be on a smartphone or a smaller screen. And so that square image, when it comes to showing negative space, when it comes to, some different types of composition, whether you're using rule of thirds or whatever it is, you have to think that you're not going to have a lot of detail. You're not going to be able to like really have a big image that you're seeing every last little thing. It's more about filling your frame with interesting things. And don't get me wrong, you can do negative space by all means, but I think some of the greatest photos have something happening in every corner, have a lot of things that you can sort of look at and catch that might not be really obvious at first. And granted, at the end of the day, this is something that you can take thousands of photos, share thousands of photos, and you don't need the greatest photo ever each day. You really just need consistency in your images. Maybe it's not the best to just share a bunch of photos of you partying if you want to be a photographer, because those aren't going to be the types of photos that people want to see. They're going to want to see your photography. They're going to want to see you doing creative and new things with your smartphone. And so just remember that when it comes to taking photos on your phone, that it's a great device, but really it's all about capturing moments. It's still about photography. And if you want to take a selfie every now and then, great. If you want to share events that you're going to, great. But if you really want to be a photographer, start utilizing your smartphone. Go practice taking photos just with this and see how you can take better photos with it and what type of moments you want to be capturing. I know a lot of people use DSLR photos on their Instagram accounts, and there's really nothing wrong with that, but I think there is something to say about a photo taken on your phone, posted to social media, that makes people inspired or makes people really be like, oh my gosh, how'd they get that photo? And you can search around and be like, well, actually, that's because I was on my iPhone and I was able to go skydiving with it, or whatever it is. So now that we've talked a little bit about Instagram and how to take better photos with your smartphone, please feel free to follow me at Shimizu Jones, and I'll be sure to follow you back. And if you ever have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. So get out there, start practicing with your smartphone and see what's capable of, because really it's one of my favorite tools to use.